10 words. 10 words. They sound so small, barely a sentence, a fleeting thought, something you can miss if you blinked. We use thousands of words every day, but sometimes just 10 can shift everything you thought you knew about yourself and the world around you. Have you ever heard a phrase that stayed with you? Something so simple it echoed long after the moment had passed? That's what happened to me. 10 ordinary words turned into the most extraordinary lesson of my life. It was a gray Thursday morning last winter, one of those days that feels like it never really starts. I was late for class, my coffee was lukewarm, and my brain was juggling a dozen deadlines. My earbuds were in, my head was down, and my phone screen was really the only thing I was looking at. The world around me had faded into background noise, just motion and sound, while my mind was somewhere else entirely. And then, in one ordinary moment, 10 quiet words from a stranger stopped me in my tracks and changed the way I see my life. As I rushed across the intersection, eyes glued to my phone, I nearly collided with an elderly man walking with a cane. I muttered a distracted, "Sorry," and stepped aside without really looking at him. He paused, smiled kindly, and said, "You will miss your life if you never look up." 10 words. And then he kept walking. At first, I laughed nervously, half embarrassed, half confused. But as I stood there on the sidewalk, those words began to sink in. You'll miss your life if you never look up. The words replayed in my head again and again, like an echo I couldn't shake. I glanced around, as if the world might suddenly look different just because I'd heard them. Cars hissed through puddles. A bus rumbled past. A pigeon fluttered onto a lamppost, tilting its head at me as if it knew something I didn't. That was the moment I realized I couldn't even describe the color of the sky that day, or the buildings I had just walked past, because I hadn't noticed any of it. I've been so focused on my phone, my schedule, my next thing, that I really wasn't living. I was just moving. The world had been unfolding around me, quietly, beautifully, and I had been part of it. So I did what he said. I looked up, and what I saw was nothing unexpected. Morning light reflecting off puddles, a couple laughing over coffee, the low hum of the city waking up. But somehow, it all felt extraordinary. It felt like I was seeing everything for the first time. The rhythm of the footsteps on the wet pavement, the warmth of the sunlight breaking through gray clouds, the way breath fogged in the cold air. It wasn't that the world had changed. I had. Something inside me slowed down. My mind stopped racing ahead to the next deadline, the next notification, the next thing I thought I needed to do. For once, I wasn't merely existing. I was living. I walked the rest of the way to class with my phone in my pocket. No music, no notifications, just me, noticing. The air felt sharper. My coffee tasted richer. Even the sound of the traffic seemed like a song I'd forgotten the words to. And for the first time in a long time, I truly felt present. That entire moment, the near collision, the words, the silence after, lasted maybe 10 seconds. But something inside me shifted permanently. It was as if someone tapped me on the shoulder and reminded me that life isn't waiting on a screen or in a plan. It's right here, right now. If only I had the courage to look up and see it. A few days later, during lunch with a friend, I caught myself scrolling while he was talking. Half of me that was there, half of me wasn't. And then suddenly, I heard that voice again in my mind, those same 10 words, and put my phone down. That was my turning point, because it hit me that it wasn't just about screens. I had been looking down all my life in other ways too, doubting myself, avoiding discomfort, rushing past small joys. Those 10 words had become a mirror, showing me how much of my life I'd been missing while waiting for something bigger to happen. Since that day, I've tried to live differently. When I walk outside, I notice things. When I talk to people, I look them in the eye. When I feel overwhelmed, I remind myself that the world doesn't need me to move faster. It just needs me to look up. It's amazing how 10 words, so small, so ordinary, can hold the power to completely change your perspective. Because sometimes it's not a grand event or a dramatic story that changes you. Sometimes it's a quiet moment, a stranger's voice you didn't expect, and 10 words that remind you to pay attention to the life that's happening right in front of you. You will miss your life if you never look up. 10 words, one moment, and everything changed.